Try. Welcome, everybody, for this presentation, Exceeding Expectations and Inspiring Quality. As Sophia said, I've been in industry for quite some time and seen lots of clients and customers that I've worked with for the last many years. And I'm highly passionate about QE. If you got to talk to me yesterday, you could have seen me talking very passionately about what's going in the current client with me and how I'm trying to do my best to let them understand what quality means and why we need it in our day-to-day life. So I am currently serving as the practice lead for quality engineering in Slalom, Seattle. And I have the pleasure of working with Andy Jimenez in this particular project that led for us to write this paper. We were sort of making a lemonade out of lemon. So this project we worked together for about 1.5 years, and we did some transformative changes in quality, which led us to write this paper. Unfortunately, Andy cannot be here, as you can see. He's not there. It's my pleasure to present this work in front of you and sort of share our experiences, and hopefully you will be inspired at the end of the day. So I'll be asking questions. I want it to be interactive, and I'm going to try to play with the screens here because I have multiple screens to display. So let's see how that's going to work. But pay attention and let's get going. So I'm going to be talking about few different things, different layers of quality. What does it mean by quality? What does it mean by quality mindset? And how would you implement a quality mindset in different layers of an organization? It could be small scale, larger scale. How would you go about implementing that quality mindset? And also, whenever we are trying to implement new things and try different things, trying to improve things, you will face challenges. So I'll be talking about the challenges that we faced during our process and how we overcame some of these. And at the end of the day, I'll share some of the key takeaways, and then we'll open the floor for Q&A. Okay, let's see how this is going to work. Let's take out your phones and scan this QR code. And what I want you to say, just one word that comes to your mind when you think of quality. I'm going to keep this until you guys scan it. And then this is a test for me because I'm testing in production right now. Got it? Everybody scanned? Okay, one more there. No, I'm sorry. Okay, so let's see what I'm here. Okay. Wow, sleeping? Seriously? Reliable, I love that. Consistency, yes. Validation, good. Good. For me, if I think about quality, precision is the word that comes to my mind. So these are all good. There's 2 reliables. That's nice. We have people who think alike. Perfection, I use that term quite a bit in my paper. Passion, yes, of course. Expected. Oh, there's 3 reliables. Okay, so going back to my deck, give me a second. So this is my test. Let's see if it's going to pass or fail. Okay, so yes, it passed. So how do you define quality? As you can see, from your different perspective, you had different answers for definitions of quality, right? Quality embodies the fusion of precision. So we saw the word precision, reliability. There was 3 times that was mentioned, and excellence across the aspects of products, services, and processes. So you can use different lenses to sort of explain what quality means. Well, go by one. Subjectivity. I feel like quality is often subjective, and it's based on your personal tastes, experiences. So if somebody asks me, what's your personal favorite for fashion? Like, I mean, I like to dress up and, just have some jewelry on me. But if you ask from my mom, that's a different scenario, right? Whatever the clothes that she can wear the most longest time. She never changed her wardrobe anyways. So just saying. And then if you think about the stakeholder differences, right? You have customers, you have owners, you have regulators. So those people have a different set of expectations when it comes to quality. And then you have industry standards, like you have ISO standards, right? Like it's different for manufacturing to healthcare to other automobile. It's all different. So the quality in their lens is completely different from one another. And then you can think about cultural variations. I mean, look at this room. We are coming from all diverse backgrounds. For coming, that background really impacts what quality means to each one of you. Like your upbringings, your background really impacts on how you define quality. And then the other piece is functional versus aesthetic. For some organizations, they want to make sure that performance is there, the reliability is there. You have all the things up and running all the time. But some people, some places, I've seen, this is one example I want to share. I worked for this client, very well-known organization, hundreds of bugs. They did not care. What they cared was the pink button. Like, I'm not even kidding. They really wanted that pink shade in that website. I, I, I don't want to get into that, but that we have to respect that, right? Because for them, that pink really matters. So for them, quality means that pink, right? So anyhow, um, I can share so many examples, but I have a long presentation to do. So, and then ever evolving standards, right? Now we live in the AI era. So everybody's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like, what's quality now? Like, do we have our jobs like in next 6 months? Like, so how do we standardize our quality processes and behaviors? So it's ever evolving. And then based on the evolvements, our definition of quality changed day to day now. Like back in the day, it was, oh, maybe in a year or two we'll define another term. But nowadays it's just every day. Like every day there's something new, and how are we going to keep up with that? How are we going to change that? And then obviously economic considerations. We all know we are the first to let go if something happens. Like the microeconomics these days, very unpredictable. So people tend to think like quality is a fluff sometimes. And this is the reality that the world we live in. So how can we change the definition of quality if we are challenged by that? So think differently. Just come out of your box and think, like, how are we going to move forward? And then contextual relevance, right? For instance, if a data capturing product may require different levels of accuracy depending on its application, like think of like a social media network versus a remote surgical procedures, right? It's a whole different perspective. We want to make sure to be accurate and really precise when it comes to surgical procedure. We don't want to mess with people's lives. And education and awareness. So this, I know I put it at the last, but I think this is one of the most important things that needs to be aware of. Most of the people, I mean, I'm surprised most of the time. I go into clients, talk to clients, talk about problems, but there's very limited knowledge on what we should be expecting from quality engineers or quality personnel. Because for most of them, it's just like a person who catch the bug at the end of the tunnel. But that's not it. There's more to that. So I personally believe if you're all QE consultants or QE advocates here, like we should be the ones to stand up for it. We should be the ones who should be advocating for it. We should be the ones who are following the rules so that we have people following us. So we have to sort of understand these different lenses in order for us to build something better, build that muscle into organizations. So with that, this is my favorite definition, or I mean, quote, as you say, for quality. Quality means doing it right when no one is looking. I love this quote. This is a quote by Henry Ford. I used this in one of my previous presentations as well. Unfortunately, many of my past experiences have not been the same. I mean, I could tell so many soap stories right now. But before we dive into this quote, raise your hand if you have heard any of the following comments or suggestions or statements throughout your careers. Are you sure it's not just a network issue? I know. It's just an edge case. How often would that happen? Can we push to the next release, please? There you go. It seems like a user error. Ah, and this is the one that gives me heartburn. But have you cleared your cache? I mean, I just got it last week. So anybody want to share your favorite comments? Go ahead.
Works on my box.
There you go. I didn't want to put the obvious.
Working in healthcare and somebody had the gall to say, geez, Damien, no babies are gonna die.
Okay. Yeah, I would have heartburn. I had to meditate to that. So, okay, moving on. So what I love about this particular code is that, like, for true quality, right, it really demand unwavering dedication. Like, you got to stand up. Otherwise, it's all going to fall apart. You're building a building blocks without a basement, right? Um, I think most of the time what people think is like, oh, you know what? Like, my stuff is done. I'm good. And no one is looking at me. No one is checking me. But that's not it. And it does not come just within this little group. Like, we talk about quality all the time. It does not happen. So the it's not, what people needs to understand is it's just not a checkbox that you need to check off. It's just not that. And if you need to sort of build that muscle, you need to be able to stand solitude. Like, you got to be you got to be standing first. Then I can guarantee people will follow, because I've seen it happen. And the this type of mentality, like thinking, oh, this is just not my job, it kind of shows the character of the organization, the values that organization processes. So I love this code. And with that, let's talk about quality mindset. So what is quality mindset? A quality mindset is the collective embodiment of attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors that elevate the importance of quality in every facet of life. I mean, I'm not just talking about software here. Like, if you think about your life, that's like true, right? And it's a cornerstone in a business or a product development or a program management and other domains where excellence is non-negotiable. You gotta be bold, man. This mindset could be the heartbeat of an organization, that you will build a culture that thrives on continuous improvement and unwavering customer satisfaction. So let's talk a little bit about core characteristics of a quality mindset. So these characteristics were identified during our, lemonade making to the last 2 years. And most of the people build applications for customers, for end users. But what they forget is the customer focus. Isn't it funny that the cornerstone of a quality mindset is the unwavering commitment to your customers or the end users? But then people just forget it. So this needs to be a core characteristic of having a quality mindset in an organization. And when you have a quality mindset oriented organization, you will have continuous improvement because you are rigorously monitoring, always thinking of improvement. What's the next innovation? You will have improved processes. So that's one of the other characteristics of quality mindset. And then holistic perspective. You'll be always thinking about the 360 view, not just one angle. You're thinking from top to bottom, bottom to top. Always you have that complete view. And then prevention orientation. You will be proactive instead of being reactive. We all know this is no secret. Like, if you find a bug in production that's way highly costly than having a bug identified in your staging environment, or you can say lower environments. So this prevention orientation sort of drives that. And then ownership and accountability. Oh, this is a pain in my behind. So whenever I work with a client, always I see, oh, this is not my problem. Or I'm going to pass it to the next team because magically somebody's going to pick it up and then walk with it. So there's always this finger pointing, not taking the responsibility of certain issues. So with quality mindset, you will always have somebody own the issues, be accountable for it, and have a united approach instead of pointing fingers at each other. And then innovation and creativity, this comes along with it, right? Once you have that mindset, you will always be thinking of like, what are the best approaches you can use to do things better? Like, I mean, you don't have to be fear of AI. There's AI, that's a tool to be used, but how can you embrace it and then innovate and make this move forward? And then for some scenarios, you need to have clear expectations and standards, and that's like period. Example, unit testing. You got to have unit testing. There's no negotiation around that. You need to be emphasizing that. You need to be following that. And then this is my favorite thing, doing the right thing. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's quality or not. You always have to do the right thing by your end users, by your teams, and by your stakeholders. And so at its core, quality mindset sort of cultivates this culture of excellence where every individual team and teams and individuals are aligned with the mission of delivering superior customer experiences. Okay, want to define the quality mindset more. This is my experience. It is never an overnight thing. It's always a journey, and it also takes a village. Establishing a quality mindset in an organization really doesn't happen overnight. It truly is a journey, and expanding on the focal points I highlighted like earlier with the core characteristics, it becomes apparent transitioning an organization to embody quality mindset is a massive transformation in any organization. And using that, we have the opportunity and responsibility to guide our organizations through this transformative journey and shed light on the complexities along the way. And it's a process far from minor. I've seen this happen, minimum time frame, I would say 8 months, but I've been on projects where it takes about 2 years to sort of instill some of these things with the people, because people move on. There's layoffs. Like, again, you got to start from the scratch. So this is no minor task, but it's doable. Okay, so in the beginning, before you establish this, you sort of have to identify what are some of the existing gaps, right? But without knowing what's underlying, we cannot build upon something. So this quote from Steve Jobs, like, be a yardstick for quality. Some people are not used to an environment where quality is expected. I mean, I love that quote. I mean, it emphasized the importance of setting and upholding high standards of quality, right? And how do we identify some of these gaps in your organizations with respect to quality mindset? Review process and procedures. Number one, you got to see what's existing right now. You got to sort of understand, kind of compare like existing procedures and with actually what's happening. So example, you may have a testing strategy document, but that may have not been updated for 5 years. Well, I mean, what's the point, right? So you need to understand those gaps in order to even begin to do something like this. And then analyze matrices. Examine quality matrices like defect ratios and what's the go-to-market time? How long does it take to get your code to production? And how long does how much intake that we can take from staging to production without you really getting blocked for X number of days? So all these matrices, people get triggered by that when we start gathering these in requirements. I've had 2 different clients that I could say, like, one client was so excited to know that information, and then one client is like, oh my God, they're going to fire us, they're going to get us fired. Like, so there's this whole mentality of like fear-based approach. So this is why I say, like, we need to be clear communicators and advocates for quality so that we don't create chaos in the process of doing something like this. And then perform root cause analysis. It hurts to say, like, even at this date, I see some bugs being closed saying issue is fixed. And there's no real root cause. Issue is just, fixed just magically, right? The reason to people, what most of the people do not understand is the reason to do an RCA. So like, why do we do an RCA? Anybody?
Thanks.
See, that's the thing. You're right. You're right. So that's the thing. Like, people think it's to blame somebody. Go ahead. 100%. And so like, this is a recent experience of mine. And then one developer just closed the bug saying issue is fixed. And so I had to take a screenshot and say, like, this issue might be fixed, but the reason behind it is not because it's fixed. And then the dude has the audacity to tell me, like, so I know what RCA means, even though I closed the, I mean, he didn't say I closed the bug. He's like, I know what RCA means. Like, it's like, oh, don't lecture me. But I'm like, come on, people. Like, I've been teaching you this for like last 2 years. What, have I just done something wrong? So I'm just saying. So you like that, those are like mindset gaps that any organization might have, but they don't want to talk about the ugly baby, right? Like, your baby is always beautiful, no matter what they look like. So, anyways, and skill levels. You gotta have the right team. Like, it's fair to say, like, you gotta skill set. You gotta make sure that you have the right team to do that. To do something like this, and then evaluate documentation or collect feedback. I mean, we are doing a process change, a transformative change. It's important you hear the other side of the story. So you gotta sort of have that conversation to identify. We may be thinking XYZ is the world, but for some people it's ABC. So we have to come to a common ground. So how can we have to do sort of feedback analysis to identify that. And then collaboration, obviously, not going to deep dive into that. And then how just benchmarking your organization's practices to whatever the industry standards are, so you can identify where you're behind and where you're not. And we sort of use not all the strategies, but most of these strategies to identify initially the gaps that we saw with this client. And then what we also shared was what poor quality looked like, right? I'm not going to deep dive into each of these incidents because you folks have all read it or heard about it. But what I want to do is focus on the common themes here. Can somebody share what are some of the common themes you see with these incidents, like CrowdStrike, Boeing, Target data breach? Any common themes that you see here? I'm sorry? Yes. Who else? Speak up.
Security.
Very good. So these are all due to software bugs and errors, right? And all of them due to inadequate testing and validation on their systems. And then also, most of them are system integration issues. I was laughing at Srilu's examples last time. Like you got to do the integration testing. Like, why is it missed? I have no idea. And then think of the impact of these failures. Loss of life, hundreds of lives, lost millions of dollars, and a reputation you can never get back. So these incidents teach us the importance of quality mindset, having a quality mindset in an organization. You got to make sure that all system and processes are tested thoroughly. Like, you got to scale when you're developing something new. You got to think of scaling, and then the need for implementing and continuously updating strong security systems. So with that, when quality is not your first citizen, we have decreased client satisfaction, customer satisfaction, lack of accountability, lack of productivity. And then there's no real long-term vision. It's all short-term basis. And then you will put your self in legal and compliance risk. So how can you build a quality mindset in an organization? When Andy and I were thinking of building this model, we were thinking about the layers of that organization. So we really saw the dysfunction between external teams versus program teams versus the individual teams and testers. So what we thought was to build a system for each of these layers. So we divided this into external, where you have external customers, executive leadership, and then governance. And then we program teams have internal customers, program management, and then delivery teams have teams and individuals. So let's dive into each of these sections. And so thinking about executive leadership, we have to, any executive leaders here? Okay, listen in. You need to set the vision. Make sure you allocate enough number of resources, not just the vision would not help you, right? And then you got to establish policies and processes and lead by example, because I see lots of executive leaders say, oh, I want to have like rainbows and butterflies, but there's nobody to, build the rainbow or the butterflies, like to take care of the butterflies, right? And you got to keep supporting and providing guidance and mentoring and monitoring what's going on. You establish these standards. How is it progressing? You got to keep monitoring and be happy with small successes. It's really important for employee morale. What I have seen, what I've experienced is people quitting, employee dissatisfaction when the quality mindset is not there, because people are frustrated all the time. So just celebrate the small wins and you drive continuous improvement. That's on you. All right. Program management. Any program managers here? There gotta be somebody. No? Okay. I'll go through this slide fast then. So it's sort of the bridge. Program managers should be the bridge between the executive leadership and the individuals and teams, right? They're the glue. They need to be aligning with the organizational goals, but also communicating that and cascading that information to the teams and individuals who are working. And talent management, you got to manage your people. You got to understand where the gaps are. How can you help the gaps how can you get the gaps closed? And then you got to do stakeholder engagement is like the biggest thing, because you got to be talking to both sides. And then when you are implementing a process like that, there will be risks, right, associated with it. And then you got to sort of on the run identify those risks and also come up with mitigation strategies so that you are addressing those risks when they come into play. And then monitoring and reporting, I think it's common for all the pillars that we are talking about. And then be a facilitator of collaboration and driving accountability. You are the person to be holding people accountable to make sure that these processes are getting done. Okay, last piece. I hope everybody's a team member or an individual who's working. So this is all for all of you. So listen in. So I kind of feel like this is like a dance, right? You gotta be following the steps right, otherwise you'll be off from the beat, right? So just think of this as a core value of the day-to-day job you do. You need to make sure that you embrace quality first. Otherwise, no one's going to look at you the way that with respect. It's hard to earn for testers. I mean, that's my experience. I feel like we have to fight every day to make sure that they know that we are valued. It's hard. It's a hard truth sometimes, right? And understanding the expectations, requirements. So I always tell my testers, do not take anything for granted. Like, you know everything. I will assign you something, but you know the whole story to tell. Like, you got to understand end-to-end story. So sort of having that understanding of like the end-to-end. And then you are a contributor to process improvement. Just if you are a leader here of a team, just empower the people. Just lots of people are scared to log bugs, even to this date in 2024. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I feel like some of the younger testers, like, they don't even speak up in like stand-ups and tell the developers, like, hey, your shit is breaking my code. Like, I'm like, what? I actually have like, I call them pep talks. Like, I have to pull these people out and say, hey, speak up. Like, to speak loud. Just tell them this code is broken and you're blocked for freaking 2 days, right? Like, you need to one, you got to be bold, and you got to be making your people empowered to be confident in what they do. So anyways, so listen in, take these notes, go back and do something different. That's what I want from this presentation. And then take ownership of quality. You own quality. It's your thing. It's your baby. You drive the way you want it. And then feedback and suggestions, always feedback both ways, positive, constructive. That's how we grow. And be proactive. Like ask the questions first. Don't just assume. Just make sure that you're always proactive in conversations. And obviously, you execute these processes. My 2 cents: always record, always take screenshots. Just because when you start something fresh, it's hard for people to trust. And that's the reality. It's not just quality, it's the reality of things. So I kind of feel like it's unfair to ask for the testers to do this, but I always tell, don't make mistakes in the first 2 weeks of the project. Just please don't. Like if you doubt yourself, just come talk to me. Let's make sure that you are not doing something that will ruin the rest of the project for you. Because people do remember that. Like people forget all the good things you do in the beginning and remember that one bug that you logged that it's not a bug. So just use common sense. And then be a champion of quality. It's your thing. You know it more than anybody. Just be a champion. So these are the 3 levels that we sort of deep dive into and sort of give advice for each of these layers. So we didn't do a roadshow per se, but we talked to all these. Like I went to the steerco, and then I had program managers meetings, and I had like team member meetings. So the 2 of us worked in all these layers to sort of instill some of these best practices. Okay. I told you this is not simple. I'm not kidding. This was not simple. I got so much pushback. I remember first time that I tried to question people's unit testing coverage. People were like, oh my God, she's asking about unit testing coverage. And then they had something called backstage to monitor that. No one is paying attention to that shit. Like it was crazy. So what I had to do was pull that data into a Confluence page, document all the microservices and call them out. Like some unit testing coverage was like below 30%. So when they saw that red Confluence page instead of that the backstage report, the external stakeholders or the executive leaders are like, oh my God. That's when like they realized they had the tools. It's just no one was advocating for them, right? So this was never an easy journey. So there was lots of resistance. It took me 6 months to get the first release out of the door, and it got delayed twice. And after this, we were able to release 7 times in a row on time. So that's why I'm saying it could be done. It's not easy. So resistance to change, it's like I'm trying to feed my kid, my 6-year-old kale, right? It doesn't matter how much I tell her, hey, see mommy's hair, it's dark black, and you'll get like black long hair if you eat kale. She wouldn't listen, right? And then again, she's not buying in. Doesn't matter. I have the facts in front of her. She's like, I don't care, mommy. I don't like kale. It doesn't taste good. So like this is why communication is key. You really have to be a good communicator in order for you to sell something like this. I have 2 different leaders. One leader who's a director of QE, and then one leader, a VP of QE. The VP of QE is like, oh, I know you're right. You're absolutely right. You and I are on the same page, but Ghost does nothing. And then one director, she's like, I agree. I'll try. And then she does things. And, I see the difference in that organization versus what's happening in this organization. So um, I'm trying still to learn how to tell the story differently for that VP to listen and make some sense into her brain. And then one is working well. So anyways, so external pressures and markets. What time is it now? So this is October, right? Oh, everybody's working on budget. This is the bad time for QE, right? I mean, I'm telling you, just be braced. So I have multiple clients I work with. So everybody is like doing the numbers by the cent, and QE is the first to get cut. So get your story straight. Talk about your value. Advocate for your values. You can do it. I'm telling you. And obviously limited resources. Anybody had any experience like you have ample QE resources? Never, right? Oh my God. Like I'm running a team, like I need like three more resources. And like, there's no money. So can I give you a dev to test? I'm like, yes, yes. That's not gonna work. It's gonna make my life miserable. So anyways, in my head, I don't say it to my clients, and then inadequate skills and expertise. Like that's a big gap. Like because the technology is changing so fast, you always have to catch up. You're always in the catch up game. So it's always been a problem for us. And oh, this is a fun one. If so, I I created this dashboard to sort of find how many bugs are in production, how many are behind SLAs. Just having that dashboard itself got me into so much scrutiny. Like, why do you want to do that? Like, what? And then because it's going up to the executive leadership, right? Like, people are so afraid that I have X number of bugs in my plate and I'm going to get scrutinized for that. Like, you you can if you have that mindset in an organization, no one's going to do their job, right? Like, what's the point? But this is pretty real even to date. And sustainability of effort. So this one, it's a challenge and also a problem, sort of, because like think of automation, right? I walked into a client where I had 4,500 automation test cases. 45% of them are failing. So it's not sustainable. So as QE, you got to think like, what's the best way to do some of these things? Are we doing it for the right reasons? So, are we thinking of the bigger picture? This is a challenge as well as like something for us to work on. Communication barriers. Again, communication is key. Complexity of processes. Oh dear God. This is like, I kind of feel like we have different personalities, egos to chase, like egos to protect. And people just don't want to believe that they're wrong sometimes. um, it's hard to convince some of the peoples when they have like very strict mindset of certain things. So this is why I think like this is a mind shift and what a mindset change in order for us to achieve something like this. And obviously most of them are like short-term focus. What can we get out of the door within X amount of time with this much budget? So these are some of the challenges. Going back to the screen here, get your phones up. um, so we address some of these challenges, and I will share um, what some of the things that I use to address quality implementation challenges. But I want to know what you would do. Ooh, okay, let's see. Anything you can think of? Communication. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes making table stakes. Yes, that's a good one. Go to PNSQC, collaboration, documentation. Oh no, no, don't don't do that to me. Have dev
Their
test.
attitudes change immensely when they've been tempted and they're like, I hate your job, I never want to do it.
Well, I do.
Never had to test.
I do agree to that. Analyze. Oh, this is a good one. Analyze and show all the major issues. That's one of the things that we did definitely. Okay, I'm shifting back. Um, okay, so let's address some of these challenges. I'm gonna share a quote from Lao Tzu. This is a really good one. The journey of 8,000 miles begins with one step. And my experience has been like, we have to take that first step. Like it's a really a step-by-step process. And this quote sort of focuses on taking that crucial first step towards achieving excellence, right? Um, we need to achieve uncompromising quality, because if you just come up with something, if you establish something and then you forget about it, it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna become the thing that we want it to be. So let's take the first step. What is the first step? We need to identify challenges. That's what we did. Like we talked about in the previous slide. So identifying challenges is the first thing that we did. We were able to, I think I shared like about 10 things. I'd say everything was, related to the project that we worked on. So once that happens, what we did, the second step we did was creating awareness. That Confluence page was my first step. Like, it's so funny. Like I have so many red things, and it's a good feeling to see those reds change to green, orange and green. I'm telling you, it was the most fulfilling feeling I had, like when I saw all these like unit testing coverage becomes green along the way. And then we started providing trainings and resources. And when you are a consultant, your story is a little bit different, because sometimes when you provide training and coaching, they really don't want to listen to you. So they're like, oh, we know what we are testing because we have everything. We know everything about our company, right? So you got to sort of take a step back, understand from their perspective, and be an advocate, but not hurt people's morals. And then you got to set clear expectations, empower employees. I'm telling you, all the leaders going back, just be inspiring people to your teams, and address resistance. If you if you want to do something like this, you will gain resistance. And it's good because constructive conversations make better culture. So just be open, feel free to get that feedback and work on it. Again, we celebrated a bunch of successes. Like when everything turned green, I would go to a meeting and say, hey, you know what? So-and-so service has become green now. And then we have no P1 bugs this time going to the production knowingly. So things like that. I would always thank the team members, like whomever worked hard, like not just the QE, all the devs and QEs, because at the end of the day, we are a team, one mindset. And then you monitor and adjust. Okay. So I really do hope that you gain something out of this content. Like Andy and I put our hearts through this content because we've been working on this for 10 months. You wouldn't believe it. And so this was sort of the transformation we saw before and after. Like when we had this 7th successful on-time release, that's when we were like, okay, this is working. This has been tested and it's working. So from before to like having decreased customer satisfaction, lack of accountability, productivity, absence of long-term vision, obviously having some legal and compliance issues, we became like higher customer satisfaction, more accountability and ownership, innovation and long-term sustainability, and some financial stuff. We could see the numbers, like the money was bleeding out the door, and we could see not whole a lot, but some level of changes on that monetary side. So which was the better case for us. And so I hope you listen to this presentation with the intention of exceeding expectations and inspiring quality. In a world that's so complicated and filled with uncertainty, I think something like a quality mindset could serve as a compass, right? As we navigate the challenges and opportunities in the future, cultivating a quality mindset can be an indispensable in driving innovation and differentiation and sustainable growth. You can connect with us on LinkedIn here. I have put Andy and my LinkedIn connections. And then thank you for listening. And I hope you feel inspired and motivated to pursue your quality goals within your organizations. Thank you.